Whenever one of our community goes missing, we hope for their safe return. I know that is what May's family wanted. Sometimes missing person cases remain unsolved, but as the evidence unfolded in this case, meticulously and carefully, block by block, it pointed in one direction, that May was murdered.
Hi guys, welcome back to Murder in Retrograde. I am here solo as my partner in non-crime is on vacation. Brittany's enjoying her family, so I just needed to jump on and record this because we had some breaking news yesterday, and this case has been very near and dear to my heart, and I've been following it since the very beginning, and I just wanted to share this with you all as soon as possible. So yesterday, October 19th, Larry Millete, husband to Maya Millete, was arrested on one count of murder and a second count to include illegal weapons. As of now, Maya's body has not been found, but the DA and Chula Vista police have made it clear that they have enough evidence to arrest him at this time. And I just want to go over a few of the key takeaways from yesterday's press conference, which you can find in whole. I think it was about 40 minutes on Chula Vista Police's Facebook page. But if not, I'll just give you the Cliff's Notes versions. So the DA of San Diego County, Summer Steffens, did most of the talking. And she said, first of all, that Larry would be arraigned on Thursday, October 21st, when you're actually going to be hearing this, at 1:30 p.m. and is being held without bail, which is great because I think they didn't specify this or say this, but I believe they think he is a risk of fleeing. And so I think that that's great that he's being held without bail. The DA went on to say that although there is no body, there is case law to support the evidence in a trial, such as a missing body shows right there that there was foul play, also stating that in missing body cases, proof of life is very important, and there's been none. Her valuables are all at home, all the cars are accounted for. There's been no financial records showing, major withdrawals. And most importantly, her phone shows that she's never left that residence, which is important because Maya never left without her phone. She was known to always have it on her. So they are releasing only the evidence that's going to be included in the unsealed portion of the arrest affidavit, and anything that could compromise the jury trial will be withheld, until the trial. And once we get our hands on the actual affidavit, we will make sure that it's posted on our website underneath Maya's case information. What they do need from the public is a couple things. So on January 8th, Larry was using his black Lexus with the license plate Maylani, spelled Maylani, and he used it to allegedly dump Maya's body, and they need help tracking this car. So they want anyone who has any knowledge of his car on January 8th, maybe seeing it pulled off on the side of the road or saw it driving in a certain, location, they need to know this information. So if you know anything or know someone who does, please reach out to Chula Vista Police Department. This information is imperative to finding Maya's body. The second thing that they need help with is information on a 40 caliber gun. They had served a search warrant and to collect his guns, and this one in particular was never found. And they say if you're in possession of this gun or have knowledge of where it is, you need to contact Chula Vista PD. And with both of these, you can give this information anonymously if you don't want to be involved. They just need these things. I mean, listen, they're saying they have enough evidence to arrest him and I'd assume make a case, but these two things are really important. And the DA, Summer, stated that I think the main reason more than anything for the body is that the family can finally have a little bit of closure and a place to bury their sister, mom, daughter. So if you have any information on either of those things, please reach out to Chula Vista PD or the DA. So on to the evidence that was released. So most domestic abuse cases has what's called a trigger event. And in this case, police believe that this event was on January 7th, when Maya had finally had enough and had called a divorce lawyer. This would be the last phone call Maya ever made. Larry, it's important to note that he did not want a divorce, and he was constantly fighting her on this. And she tried to convince him that they could have a great co-parenting relationship, but they just didn't need to have their children in a toxic environment. And apparently, shortly after this phone call, Larry sent a text to his boss, quote, saying, quote, "It's coming." So he knew that she made this phone call. How he knew, we don't know. But he was telling his boss kind of what was going on. And to try and keep his hold on Maya, he reached out to something called a spellcaster, which is exactly what it sounds like. Didn't know these existed in real life, but there you go. He started sending daily messages. I assume text messages is what they meant, to make Maya stay in the relationship. It soon turned to threatening, asking for her to be incapacitated or to get broken bones, that she would have to stay home, basically showing his homicidal ideation. And this is going to be in kind of chronological, so you can see how the evidence really helps support that she was murdered. And that's why we haven't been able to find her since January. So on January 7th in the afternoon, Larry sent a text to his boss saying, quote, "I think she wants me to snap. I'm shaking inside and ready to snap," end quote. On same day at 8:15 p.m., Maya sent her family a message on Facebook Messenger, which would be the last text she'd ever send. And on the same night at 9:57 p.m., neighboring cameras caught 9 loud bangs on their camera. And the DA said that the specialists involved in the case could not determine, because of the quality of the camera, if that was in fact gunshots. But to me, that's exactly what it sounds like. We actually have not only the link on our website, but if you go to our TikTok account, I think it's like the second video we ever did, we cover this case, and there is that audio on there so you can hear what it sounds like if you would like. Also on that same night, about 45 minutes later at 10:45, neighbors said they heard the children playing in the backyard, which is odd for small children. I mean, they're 10, 11, and 4. I have a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old, and like they are never up that late. So I can imagine that's why they're thinking that's odd. And this supports that it allegedly sounds like, right, they get into a fight, could possibly have shot her, and then is doing some cleanup. So the children need to be out of the house, which is terrifying to think that they were all present when this was happening and will traumatize them for the rest of their lives. And my heart breaks for those kids on so many levels. And if I talk too much about it, you'll see me in tears, which I'm sure you don't want to do. So I'm not going to dive too much into that. I do want to say the police department made it very clear that the safety of the children was always their number one priority. And they made sure when they arrested him that they were taken care of and safe. And they have been thought about a lot during this whole process. So on January 8th at 1:25 a.m., all of Maya's phone activity completely stopped. And at 5:58 that morning, although Larry's Lexus was already backed in their garage, neighboring cameras caught him repositioning it so that it was backed in further where the trunk was hidden in the garage. So if he was allegedly putting a body in that trunk, no cameras would see. So he did make sure to cover me. Listen, his actions definitely show that he's aware that there's cameras everywhere and he's doing everything he can not to be caught doing something suspicious. About an hour later, 6:45, Larry left with his 4-year-old, leaving his older daughters at home alone without his phone for 11 hours and 21 minutes. The DA stated that his phone was, quote, "not operating" during this time, which leads me to believe that he just turned it off while it was there. So not only did he leave it behind, but he turned it off. And I think, just to show so many things, right? Like that messages are coming in or out, that or if they're being answered or not, or if it's moving. I think it's just to take away any speculation. He just turned it off. So there's no evidence at all, which again, there's definitely some means to cover up things if he did what he's being charged of doing. Starting on January 9th, his messages to the spellcasters turned from Maya to a man that Larry believed was the cause of the failed marriage. So to me, this seems like, okay, he's dealt with one problem, which was Maya, and she's out of the picture now. And so now he's turning his spell casting into, because there were rumors that she had had an affair, or he thought that she was having an affair. And so he's obviously turned these messages. They didn't state what was in these messages. I would imagine something harmful, since he's not happy with his current situation. And then on January 9th at 9:21 p.m., he withdrew from his crypto accounts and put them into an account for his daughters. So to me, I'm not really, this is where I need my expertise and my partner, Brittany, here, because like, why is that happening? The only thing I could think of is he's trying to hide money, or I don't know. And I would be interested to hear feedback of why would you pull from crypto accounts? I mean, because it sounds like it's his account. So like, does he think they're going to be frozen and then is having a backup in case he needs access to funds? Like, I'm not sure. It was interesting that they even released that. So I feel like, is it important? Is it not? I don't know. And then on January 26th, the police had served a search warrant to collect the home entertainment system from the Lexus, but it was a 2015, so it lacked the more advanced systems. But what it did show was that on January 8th at 3:29 p.m., Larry put in his home address, and he was about 2 hours away when he did this. So again, my theory is like because he was gone for 11 hours. So I think he drove a lot further than 2 hours away, which could, where they are located, that could have been, because they didn't say where this was turned on at. So, I mean, I'm only 2 hours away. So was he up by like where we live? And did he come from maybe LA or the desert or Mexico? There's so many options of where he went. And I think he only put it on the navigation when he got close enough where he was covering his tracks, but also needed to figure out where he was and how to get back. But this is why it's so important for police to ask for help from the public, because him being 2 hours away, I think he thinks he's in a safety net. So I think the assumption is that he went much further than that, and like where, because he did cover his tracks. They do say a lot that this is an ongoing investigation. I'm sure that they're combing through CCTV. I mean, listen, his license plate was very noticeable. And that's why they're asking for help. Like, where was this car? And listen, I wish they would have put this information out right away. Like, why did it take 9 months to ask the public? Because not to be, but like, I don't remember what I was doing in January. Like, that's an insane thing to ask the public 9 months later. And I think the only place that will actually be helpful if someone had video or pictures or some sort of tangible thing that says, oh my gosh, here's where it was and here's a timestamp or whatever. But I really hope and I assume that they're going through CCTV or toll tags, which you probably didn't do, right? But like, I'm sure they're covering those bases. I hope. So he gets home, or no, when he was gone, Maya's brother came looking for her because no one can get a hold of her. And if you are not following this case, what was going on that weekend was that it was Maya's daughter's birthday, and they were supposed to be going to Big Bear, and she just went silent, which was very unusual, especially because she was planning her daughter's birthday weekend. And so he came to the house looking for her, knocked on her bedroom door, walked around the house, looking in her room. And at first, Larry had told him he was at work, but then he changed his story, saying that he was at the beach with his 4-year-old, which again, my theory thought is that the brother went to the house, saw that the older daughters were there. There's obviously not a 4-year-old running around, and there's no Larry. So he had to think of something. And I always think the beach thing is like, I mean, I guess it's easy to say you were at the beach because there's not necessarily cameras there, but also because my thought has always been maybe he went to the desert somewhere where there could be sand in his car or something. And that's why he said the beach. and also to a 4-year-old in the middle of sand, like that could be, they can think that that's the beach, which is just so terrifying to think of. And my other thought was like, is there maybe a children's iPad that they like, did he take an iPad for the kid? I'm probably not, right? Because he left his phone, but like, how did you entertain a 4-year-old while you're doing all this? They in this day and age need constant distractions. And if you're, allegedly digging a hole or something, you're just leaving your kid in the car by himself. Like, what is he doing the whole time? I mean, not to be, but these are the things that I'm like, is there maybe some other way to determine where he was? Okay, so Mary Chris is Maya's sister. She was the one that ultimately called police, not Larry. And she knew that Maya would never disappear, like I said, because it was the daughter's birthday. And I want to play her part from the press conference yesterday, and to hear her reaction to everything that happened. And something I want to say really quick too. This news broke at like, gosh, I think around noon. And one of the newscasters at the scene got word that Mary Chris had no idea this was going on. And she was on her way to head like the police station to figure out what was going on. So she literally found out when we found out. And when they released it, they didn't say what his charges were. They just said Larry Millete arrested. And so, the speculation was, is he being arrested for his guns just so they can hold him? I mean, we had no idea. And so I find it to be a little bit distressing that they didn't pull her aside maybe right before this was going on so that she couldn't tell anybody, but at least that she was in with police and they could be telling her as it was going down so that she knew what was happening and have like a moment to herself to digest what's being told to her, that her sister's been murdered. Like, I don't know. I really feel for this woman, and listening to her yesterday, like I was in tears. It was, I'm gonna cry now, but it's real and it's heartbreaking. So I'm gonna play it for you guys now, and then we'll talk about it.
I would want to say thank you, everyone, for being here today, for all your support. Of course, I want to thank Chula Vista Police Department for relentlessly working on my sister's case to this point. Chief Roxana Kennedy, thank you so much. You tell us you're praying for my sister. That means a lot to us. The DA's office, thank you so much. Summers, Stephanie, thank you so much. And all your team, thank you. They told us they've been working hard day and night, working on my sister's case, even though we don't see it, but they're working hard to hopefully to get to this point. It's been 9 months, and also with the community support, we were able to do it. Sorry, it is just overwhelming at this time for me. I'm still trying to take it today. It's been really hard. He's a family. He's our family. It's hard to go against a family. He's been with us for 20 years. My sister did love him. She gave him 3 kids. She just can't let go. And this is not this is still not the end. We're still have a long way to go. We're still asking the public, please help us bring my sister home. I still want to see my sister. I still want her to come home to us. Please, if you know anything at all, please help us. Lord, you're pleading. I still want her to come home. We did a promise to her 11-year-old daughter that we will bring her mom home, please. Let the kids know where their mommy is at. Let them know the truth, that they'll still be brought up
And that she didn't abandon them.
healthy.
She didn't just get up and leave. I also want to thank the media for never giving up on the family.
Yes.
On Maya's case. You guys.
So, as you can hear, it is heartbreaking to listen to her reaction to hearing that her brother-in-law, who was married to his sister for 20 years. I mean, the thing that got me is when she's saying, he's our family. How do you go against families? It's been 20 years. She gave you 3 kids. And it's just so heartbreaking on so many levels. Like, I can't even imagine what her and her family are going through, and the level of betrayal they must be feeling on top of, the grief. It really is just distressing and so sad. And, I hope that they find her body and can give this family a little bit of peace, because they deserve it. They seem like wonderful people. I've never met any of these people, but I feel super connected to them, and it's just so heartbreaking. So the next part I wanted to play for you guys was after she spoke, they had like a Q&A section. And I did feel like it was really interesting to listen to. Some of the questions you can't really hear, but they do a good job of the way that they answering it, so what was being asked. But they talk a little bit about, how they're gonna, I'll just play it and let you listen to it for yourself.
Yeah, I can't talk about the evidence, but it is a case that's built on a piece by piece circumstantial evidence at this point. We've prosecuted several missing body cases. Fortunately, in one of them recently, the body was discovered right before the trial. We're hoping that happens really to bring finality to the family. But we feel very confident about the prosecution and the evidence that we have.
District Attorney, are you able to seek the death penalty without a body? And I have a follow-up.
Seeking the death penalty is not related to whether you have a body or not. It's related to whether we have a special circumstance. Right now, the charges are murder, and there is not an alleged special circumstance. The special circumstance is something like the murder was committed in the course of a robbery or kidnap or rape. Those are things that constitute a special circumstance. Maybe some evidence will develop of a special circumstance, but at this point we have a murder.
And would it be a mitigating factor that Larry left neighbors to keep her to the field where Maya's body is?
We always want to know where the body is, and we hope that anybody with good conscience will allow May's family and her children to have a burial place to visit their mother.
I have a question for the police department. Is he talking? Is he talking?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so unfortunately, this is an active and ongoing investigation. there's a lot of questions that we can answer her. We obviously want to protect the case, like the Chief Kennedy and District Attorney Summer Steffen had said. This is going to go in front of a jury. At that point, the case will be laid out to a jury. So until that happens, there's a lot of questions that you have that we are not able to provide you answers with today, just due to the fact that this is ultimately going to in front of a jury and will be tried there.
Does the department have any indication?
Is there any questions specific to the Chula Vista Police Department before we wrap it up?
Yes. Do you believe he had help?
I'll be right with you, ma'am.
Do you believe he had help?
Will the children be released to Maya's family? Are they going to be okay?
So I can report is that the children are safe, and I can tell you that this afternoon when Larry was taken into custody for the murder of May, the children were the number one thoughts in our mind to do that safely, to make sure they were never in danger. And once we knew that the children were not in danger, that's when the SWAT team moved and took them into custody. I believe there's one question right here.
Should we still be searching the cell phone team triangulation area?
So early on in the investigation, it was released to the media, also to May's family, that we had reason to believe that May's phone may have been in the area of the old golf course near her house. When that information was released, we were going on the best info at that time. At this point, we've been able to analyze that data more closely, and we feel that May's phone never left the residence.
You
I have
have
one more question.
You have searched locations for Larry's family members. You have searched in locations where Larry's family members live. Do you have reason to believe that his family members helped him in any way?
At this point in the investigation, the only person that we feel is responsible for May's disappearance and murder is Larry Millete. That'll be all. Thank you.
Okay, so I mean, obviously they're not going to give any evidence that's going to be compromising the case, but they do talk a little bit about, death penalty cases, which I find really interesting. I didn't realize, I guess, listening to this, that would even be an option. And who's to say that they're not going to come out with additional charges once they do find her body? There, that, or the gun that could provide maybe more. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think and hope that two things. I hope he, confesses and saves his children the pain of a trial. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not. He's been so calculating with his actions that he's looking out for himself and nobody else. He's now taken both parents away from his children. So he's obviously only looking out for himself. And I think he's going to plead not guilty. And I think he's going to drag this on. I just hope that Maya's family and Maya gets justice because they deserve it. She deserves it. Her children deserve to know what happened to their mom. And yeah, so that's pretty much it on the updates. I do want to just say that October, kind of sadly, ironically, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and it was launched in 1987 nationwide, and it was a way to connect and unite individuals and organizations working on domestic violence issues while raising awareness for those issues. Over the past 30 years, they've made much progress and have been able to gain lots of support. If you want to support them, you can go to ncadv.org for more information on how to help that. And as we've talked about, a lot lately, because unfortunately we've been covering a lot of these cases, is there's lots of ways to help, to find help, to support. So always do what you can. I know it's a tough situation, but thank you again for joining us for for another episode of Murder in Retrograde. If you want more on this story, we did originally cover it back in February. It was episode number 19. And then after that, there were a couple of update episodes as things came out. I will say the police really held back, even though they gave a weekly press release there was never, it just showed search warrants and people, how many people interviewed. They weren't really giving a lot of evidence out, which at the time was extremely frustrating because we didn't know what they were doing. And I will say I'll eat crow a little bit here because I was very critical of the police department there because they didn't seem equipped, and they weren't, and they knew that. And they, in this press conference yesterday, listed all the different people and branches involved in helping. And it really does go to show that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that we know, and just have to be loud and make sure that, you know, the people involved or the public knows what's going on and the case is still, you know, being talked about, but also have faith that our police departments and detectives and DAs are all doing what they can to find answers. And if you want us to, for whatever reason, if it's too hard and annoying to find multiple episodes, let us know. And I'm happy to kind of condense it and make it all one big Maya Millete episode, or we can always do that with any previous episodes that we've done. And you please make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on all of our social medias. It's all consistently at Murder in Retrograde. And yeah, just connect with us. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, be safe and trust your gut. Bye.